Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is Debbie Donovan, and I'm kind of running this program for preparing for the CAA Level 1 evaluation. And tonight we have both Liz Venditta and Bill Venditta, who are going to do different sections of the syllabus. Liz is going to go first and talk about maintaining your harness, and specifically a leather harness. Now, some of you may not use a leather harness or may not even have a leather harness, but if you are going to take the evaluation, you will be questioned on the care and maintenance of a leather harness. So it's good information to know. And then after that, Bill is going to talk about grooming the stabled horse. So we're going to have an intermission in between because they kind of have to switch props. Bill has his table of tools, and so we'll take a 5-minute break while he puts his table in place. So with that, I'll hand it over to Liz.
Thank you, Debbie. As Debbie just mentioned, I'll be discussing the element 1.1 in your syllabus, cleaning leather harness. And there are really 3 parts to my discussion tonight. One is, what are we cleaning? 2, why are we cleaning it? And 3, how do we clean it? So the first thing is, what are you cleaning? And I'm going to ask Debbie to put up a chart that you got in your packet when you signed up for this course, John Parker's harness chart, to kind of look at the parts of the harness there, because you may be questioned and evaluated on your ability to name the parts of a single set of harness. So that kind of goes through every conceivable part, I guess. But does Debbie have that part up, Patrick? Great. But you'll be able to go through there, and you really need to study that kind of on your own. There doesn't really need to be a need, I don't think, at this point, for us to go point by point over the parts of a harness, because it very clearly is stated there what you're doing. So the driver proficiency test will likely include some questioning on parts of the harness. I don't think he'll question you on every single little part of it, but he'll probably question you on some general parts of the harness. So the second portion of this discussion is, why are we harness cleaning? So Debbie, do you have that second chart there? Second one up. Okay, why are we cleaning harness? And I would say that the reason we're cleaning harness is for safety more than anything else. We're cleaning it because, and the cleaning it in the detail that we clean it, and we do clean it in a lot of detail. The reason we're doing that is it gives the cleaner and the owner, or whoever is working for the owner, the opportunity through cleaning to look at every single part of the harness to see if there's any problem with any part. You should be taking the harness apart section by section as you clean it, and then putting it back together and looking for things that you're looking for any wear and damage. The most wearable, or the problem I find to be the most problematic with harness is the hame strap. Of all the harnesses I've cleaned over the years, the hame strap seems to be the main thing that seems to get a lot of wear, because you're taking it off and on with the hames, off and on the collar. And that's the main piece. We always carry in our harness kits extra hame straps, because you never know when you're going to need a new hame strap. And when that hame strap goes, you're in trouble. So you always want a pretty nice, fresh, blemish-free hame strap. The other thing that you should probably look at carefully is anywhere where there might be water. So you want to look where the bit connects to the reins, or the reins connect to the bit. There's usually a lot of water down there, so those reins could be worn down where they connect to the bit. So look at the reins down in that area, and also look at the buckle that's connects the that's down in that area of connection to the bit, because that buckle also is getting wet and could be problematic. You want to be reviewing for any stress or dry rot anywhere throughout the harness. You want to be looking as you clean to the stitching. Are you seeing any stitching coming apart? Is there anything that looks discolored? Is there anything that is rusty as you're looking at the brass. Those are the things that kind of stand out what you're looking for. You're looking for dry leather. Is there any cracked leather? Cracked leather is a problem. You probably want to get that replaced if you find any cracked leather. You also want to make sure that your harness is not too oily or greasy, because that means if that were the case, it could stretch. And sometimes with dry leather harness, people tend to oil it using neat's foot oil or some other type of oil. If you ever use oil on harness, only do it on the back side of the harness. Don't do it on the front, on the outer surface, because once you get oil on the outer surface, it's very, very hard to get that surface to polish up again. So if you use neat's foot oil, and I'll tell you, I have never had to use neat's foot oil on any of our harness. It's never gotten to the point that it's dry rot or that, that significantly damaged. Okay, I think that's probably the why. Are we back on? We back on, Debbie, live? Oh, we are? Okay.
Yes.
Before I leave, I want to just point out, leave the why section. I just want to point out where the hame strap is, because that's the thing I find in cleaning harness over the years is the thing that wears the fastest and wears the most and requires a lot of replacement. So there's the hame strap. That is key, in my estimation. The other thing that's key is down here where the rein connects to the bit. This area gets wet and it tends to be problematic. It tends to split down there. It tends to, this buckle, well, this is a white metal buckle, but you tend to get some little rust down here. So you want to make that, and particularly with the tongue of that buckle down there, you want to make sure that's nice and clean. But those are the two main areas, I think, the hame strap and the buckle and rein attaching to the bit. Those are the two key parts, I think, as far as the why we clean harness. The why is, again, we're looking for any kind of damage because it's a safety issue. You want to catch that damage before you're at a show or at an event or at a drive and something falls apart on you. You should have caught that when you cleaned the harness before you went. So cleaning the harness is very important, and it's mainly important for safety to make sure all your equipment is safe to use. So going on now to how to clean harness. Bill and I have been members of the Brandywine Valley Driving Club for about 40 years, believe it or not. I can't believe it's been 40 years. But back in the early days of the driving club, we would have meetings such as this to talk about how to clean harness. And there was advice given back then, some of which I still use today. In fact, quite a bit I still use today, because there's really a good method to cleaning harness, and it's the tried and true, and it's been used for years. Over the years, however, some products have come on the market that are somewhat better than what might have been used 40 years ago. So as products come on, I'm always listening for the next product, the latest thing that will make the job of cleaning the harness easier, will make the harness better looking, and will be faster for the harness cleaner to get the job done. So, and then, midway, I guess at least 20 years ago, I was taught how to clean harness by Roy Munt. I think a lot of people remember Roy. He was a member of the Brandywine Valley Driving Club years ago. He's from the somewhat famous Munt coaching family, generations of coachmen. And he'd been taught by his father, grandfather, how to clean harness with some different ideas that I've incorporated as well. So I learned it from him. Later on, after I'd been doing it for a while, I've incorporated some of his ideas, which are just old coachman ideas, and they just seem to work very well. So that's my background as far as how I learned to clean harness. One of the most important things I'll start with, because it's a pet peeve of mine, I think the rags are really important. And everybody laughs at me that I have my own carriage cleaning rags, and I don't let harness cleaning rags, excuse me. I don't let the carriage people touch my rags. I don't want the horse cleaners touching my rags. I have specific rags that I use for the carriage, or you said it again, for the harness cleaning. And those rags are particular to their job. For example, we use a specific rag for cleaning the harness. I use one with a little bit of grit to it, and we'll be getting to that a little bit. I always have one of those in my kit. I use a nice soft cloth for when I'm polishing. I use a particular, what are these called, Bill? Micro cloth for when I'm doing the patent leather. And then of course you use a nice gritty towel cloth for when you're doing the brass to get that polish off. So the rags are very important. And the reason they're important is you don't want your brass cleaning rag to get on your leather harness, and you don't want your end dust rag to be used to clean. I mean, you want to keep your rag separate. And I actually, I mean, this is a peccadillo. I actually, every time I clean harness, I have the same type. I know this color is what does certain job. I know this color is what does certain job. I know this is the type and color that does another job. So that's just a little peccadillo. You could do it that way. I'm sure you all probably have ways you do things already, but you can't use one rag for the whole harness cleaning. You've got to have specific rags for specific jobs. And that's one of the main things I think you need to think about as you start to clean harness, because you don't want to get all finished, you know, everything's well, and then you have to pick up the wrong rag and get polish all over your brass, or polish white brass cleaner all over your leather. You want to keep things separate. I'm going to go one by one, I guess, in the way I clean harness. And this is really talking about the products. The first thing you do is clean a dirty harness. For example, it's from the last time it was used, it's got some mud on it, it's got, you know, dust on it, it's got all kinds of things. The first thing you want to do is clean your harness. Now, in the olden days, we used, I shouldn't say olden days, in the early years, we used saddle soap, and that's still an appropriate thing to use. More recently, I've been using Lexol cleaner, leather cleaner, and you put that in just a little bit of water in a bucket, and you wring the rag out really tight, because you don't want your leather harness to get real wet, but you do want to get it clean. So bring it out real tight and clean your leather harness with a Lexol cleaner. When you get to something like, say, the crupper, whoops, the crupper I always find has a lot of gunk on it that won't even come up with your rag and leather cleaner. So that's when I have this kind of rag that has a little bit of a grit to it. So when I'm cleaning that crupper, this little grit is just enough to get that dirt, mud off of the crupper. Be very careful. You don't want to press or push too hard with this. You don't want to make any lines in your leather. You want to be careful with it, but you do want to get it off. So I use this kind of cloth with a little bit of grit to it for particularly the crupper or other areas of the harness that have some sort of stubborn mud or grit, or, you know, all kinds of things get on your harness. Things that come out of their mouth, all kinds of things. You know, at the end of the reins, there might be something there. So, but when you use something with the grit, you want to be careful with it. You don't want to work it too hard, because that can be a problem in its own right. So you just want to do it gently and work it out. You don't want to get your leather harness too wet, as I said, but if it does get wet, allow it to dry off in the air. Don't use an hair dryer or anything like that. Allow it to dry off in the air before you go to your next step, which is the blacking. But it's best not to get it real wet to begin with, so that it dries pretty quickly. At shows where I've got clean harness and it's just been in the ring for a class and come back, and because the horses are really clean at that point as well, but you know, there might have been a little sweat or whatever. Between classes, I use this Belvoir tack cleaner. So I'm not using anything in a bucket or this Lexol cleaner unless it really got bad, but usually it doesn't get bad. This tack cleaner can go right on, either you spray it right on the leather and take it off with a rag, you know, any kind of rag like this, or you can put it on the rag itself and then wipe it down. And this, the neat thing about this cleaner is it does seem to take off a lot without a whole lot of effort. And it's a good thing between classes to use something like this. When you're cleaning it to begin with, before you put blacking or anything else. I think you do need a little heavier product. You need the Lexol probably at that point. But after that, I think the tack cleaner is fine between classes, just to clean it off and get it clean. So let's go now. Let's see if I've missed anything from that. Oh, the one thing I wanted to mention on cleaning is bits and curb chains. Bits and curb chains are always gunky when they come off the horse, and they dry gunky and the rest. Now, you have this grit cloth, and that's good for bits and curb chains if you're at a show or whatever. But the best thing for bits and curb chains we found is the top layer of your dishwasher. You put them in top layer, they come out immaculate, and they're better than you can do it cleaning it yourself. So I always recommend for bit and curb chains, the top rack of the dishwasher. If you are at a show or at a drive or whatever, and you do have to clean it yourself, clean it again with water and maybe a little cleaner like this, the Lexol, maybe just plain water if you can do that. You don't want to leave any product on the bit, because you don't want a horse that's going to be because he tastes some product in his mouth. So make sure that bit is very clean if you've cleaned it yourself. If you've done it in the dishwasher, you can be sure it's perfectly clean and they're perfectly happy with it, and all's well and good as you go on. The next, anyone have any questions or comments on cleaning?
I have a question on the bits. I'm trying to think for the life of me what I have, but I have a hard plastic bit. I don't know, can't think of the name of it, but the black hard plastic or hard rubber, I guess it is. Can I put that in the dishwasher? Because I've heard of putting things in the dishwasher, but I've never put that one in the dishwasher because I didn't know if it would discolor it or not.
Oh, Bill says yes, you can.
Okay.
The real hard rubber.
If it's the real hard rubber, he thinks you can. We don't use that. We haven't used that, have we? That we've done in the dishwasher?
They're primarily riding bits.
Oh, okay.
No.
We haven't used one of that type, but he thinks it would be all right in the dishwasher. Because when you put your dishes in, they don't discolor, or maybe they're dishwasher safe. I don't know whether a bit's dishwasher safe, but it probably would be all right. I would think, and it would help because it gets all that gunk that's all in different nooks and crannies in your bit. It really gets rid of all that. It's amazing what the dishwasher can do. And we only learned of that a few years ago. I mean, for years we clean until we learned that. And it's so easy to get your bits done in the dishwasher.
Right.
You're not putting like Cascade in there to clean it, right? Are you just running water, or what do you use when you're cleaning them in the dishwasher?
No, we're doing dish detergent.
Yeah. Oh, and
That's
really?
That's what we do too in Pony Club. We just threw the bits in the dishwasher top rack.
It's very
I've
confusing
heard of that.
for your husband. when you look up
That's pretty well known.
Yeah.
Is the Lexol product a glycerin soap? What is it?
No, it's not a glycerin soap. It is leather cleaner, pH balanced for safe cleaning, leaves no surface scum or residue, ideal for smooth leathers.
Okay, so it's just called leather cleaner.
Leather cleaner. I do not believe there's any glycerin in it. It's not saying that there is.
Because the next product you use, the one at the show, that is glycerin, isn't it?
The cleaner is not. I don't believe the cleaner is. I believe the conditioner is.
Oh, okay.
But I don't believe the tack cleaner removes grease, dirt, and sweat. Let me see if that says, printing is way too small.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't think the cleaner does. When I clean with it, I'm not getting any sense of there being anything. But when I use the conditioner, I'm getting a shine from this conditioner. So I'm thinking there probably is with this. Oh yeah, it says right on it, glycerin conditioning spray soap.
Okay.
So,
a glycerin soap is a shining soap.
yes.
It's a polishing soap. Okay.
Right. I don't use that in the cleaning, in the heavy cleaning at the beginning. I use that at showtime between classes. I use the glycerin soap.
Okay.
When I'm not gonna take everything all apart, I'm just cleaning it all up for the next class. This glycerin works really well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, on to the next topic, which is really blacking your harness. Now, I'm not going to talk about a russet harness, except to the extent that I do not believe you ever use shoe polish to on a russet harness. I thought I should say that in case somebody thought they could. You never use brown shoe polish on a russet harness. The russet harness is cleaned and conditioned, and that leather will get better and better over time, and the patina will come up on it just from your cleaning it and conditioning it. So never any brown shoe polish on russet harness, brown harness. As for blacking, there are two products that I have used that are really good. The one is the Lincoln. And the way I got to this Lincoln, I was looking up military soldiers with their boots. They like this a lot, that this does the best shine for them. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But the one that I regularly use is the Kiwi Parade Gloss black shoe polish. And it's, you know, just the regular shoe polish. You put a little water in there, and, you know, it's, do this on any little piece of harness. Do I have a piece of harness here?
Liz, can I
Yes.
ask a question?
Uh-huh.
What is your opinion of a product called, it's spray, Leather New, I think? It's a spray.
I've not heard of
Soaping.
that, but I have two products here that I was going to at the end. If it's anything like these two, never ever use them. The one is Instant Wax Shine by Kiwi, and the other is Express Shine by Kiwi. These put bad things on your harness. They put a coating that once it's on, it takes forever to get off. And I know a lot of people were using this Express Shine about 10 years ago, and they just boom, boom, because it shines up really quick. I mean, it's an Express Shine. So real quick, you can get your harness to really look shiny for that one class. Then you get it back and try to get this off of your harness. At that point, it never works. And this is the same thing, this Instant Wax Shine. This is a waxy, oily kind of thing that works for it's a shortcut that is not a shortcut. But I remember back in the day, everybody was using this. And no one used, well, I shouldn't say no one. Many people did not use the Kiwi type. They were using these, you know, things with the applicators. But anymore, at least with this Instant Wax Shine that you can get from Kiwi, it's got product in it that you don't want, I don't think, on your leather harness. So I never, big no on these two, never ever use these two. They're quick and they're easy because you don't have to polish them. It just goes on and it's shiny right away. But they're terrible for your leather harness in trying to get it back to what it was. I mean, I guess you could keep using this, but you're going to have, with this Express Shine in particular, you're going to have a coating on your harness. Your harness is starting to start getting gray and gray and gray. Because believe me, I want to say 12, 15 years ago, I used this to my big regret because I had to work for years, then, well, not years, many times to get it off that harness once I had gotten it on. So I've thrown all of these out, except I used one as a sample here. But so I don't know the kind you're talking about, Tommy.
In the Bowen camp of harness cleaning, Leather New is good.
Yeah.
Is Leather New like this?
Fast.
No,
It's very fast.
It's more like the Lexol. It's
Oh, really?
it's a glycerin saddle soap though. So it cleans, conditions, and shines in one step, it says, notice.
yeah, but then you're doubling over your, pardon me, but then you're doubling over your cleaning products and they can't work individually. The spray glycerin soap is just that, just a spray glycerin soap. And then they have a conditioner as well. It's a cleaner and conditioner, similar to what you were showing before.
Right.
The conditioner I've never used, but again, if it says cleaning and conditioning and this, then it's going to try to do it all in one step and you're not going to get what you want out of an individual product. So what you've been saying is Correct. And the only other one I like is also the Belvoir. Their saddle soap is also a little bit of a conditioner because it has beeswax and it also has coconut oil in it.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, mine too. I
It's my
love the way
favorite.
that stuff cleans. And their buttery stuff for the leather is so good on your hands too.
Yeah, I
one
just think
thing I
anytime
would-
there's a shortcut, it's probably in the long run not a shortcut. It's
Oh,
But
I
don't-
yeah, yeah. The other product I would not use on a black harness, and you probably all have known, or anything, is One Step. That will leave a white cloud on everything. That you know, no matter how hard you polish to get it off, it's gonna stick in those cracks.
Yeah, I think that's what this Express Shine is too. It just leaves, it's good for
Yeah,
one
different
class.
manufacturers' names.
And for those that don't know me, I was a saddler for 22 years, so
Oh, there you go.
a little bit of
Wow.
experience in that.
Then you know. All right, so yeah, you know, everybody, I think probably everyone on this call has already cleaned harness multiple times and knows how to clean it. So you know how to blacken. You just blacken on. You get the shoe polish on your black leather harness, and then from that you want a good brush to brush it off, and you got to put some oomph in it to get some shine, because the shoe polish itself will give you a nice shine. You can put some oomph in it, get that shine with your shoe brushes. These brushes I've got, they came from Walmart. They're inexpensive, but to me, they're the best brush because they're just the right size for your hand, and they're the right size to get inside a collar and to use. They're just very good. And what I do, I've got like 8 or 10 of them, which I take to a show or whatever, and I just use them, and then goes into the kit and get the next one for the next. You know, I just keep using them over and over, and then when I come home, I put them in a net bag and throw them in the washer, the clothes washer, and they all clean up very nicely. I've been using these for years, and I think they might be made. I don't know whether they're made. It's called Shoe Gear on it. For some reason, I thought Kiwi was putting them out, but I'm not sure. But they're very nice. And the one caution I have for you there is black leather harness gets a black brush, meaning a brush only for black leather harness. If you're doing russet, like the interior of this, collar, you don't want to use your black harness brush on your russet collar interior. You want to have a russet brush and clearly mark it right on there, harness russet, because you don't want to use the russet on the black. You don't want to ever get any black on this. And this is another case where you, correct brush for a correct piece of equipment. And so keep your black brushes and your russet brushes separate. And again, the more oomph you put into the brushing, the better shine you'll get. But in the end, after the brushing, still take a nice cloth and buff again, and it'll even come out better. So there are a few steps to the blacking process, but if you do it well, it will hold you quite a long time. If the blacking, it'll stay on. It'll shine up. It'll shine up as you go on with your other products. So it works very well that way. Anybody else have any ideas of what they do, or any thoughts as to what they do for blacking?
Liz, I had a question about on that harness, that collar you just showed. You wouldn't put polish on the back part, the russet part that touches the horse, would you? Because we have full russet harness. That's hard,
Yeah.
That's russet.
No polish, no brown shoe polish, no polish,
No.
no kiwi brown ever on russet. Just your conditioning, cleaning, and conditioning will bring out the patina, is that how you say it?
Patina.
Of
Yeah,
that
patina.
harness. And it'll get better and better over time. Our first harness was a Smucker's Deluxe, and I guess it's 40 years old now. We have the nicest color on that russet Smucker's Deluxe, just because every time it was cleaned, and we never used polish on it ever. I guess maybe they do something, Smucker probably does something to the leather. And I don't know what he does. But
It's part of the tanning process, but
exactly.
on all, being the old school bridles and stuff, people used to heat the oil to try to change the color. Never do that because it opens up the pores and everything will break. But my question was on the blacking is just for polishing of your harnesses, because I have a gallon of it from somebody, or a half gallon if anybody wants. I have this gallon tin of blacking and I have no idea what it's for, because I have a neoprene right now.
I'm trying to think, blacking.
It came from Lisa Singer, because she used to do all the harnesses when she was back in the day, and it came from her barn.
Yeah, I seem to remember years ago, there was a process called blacking, which wasn't really the Kiwi grade gloss. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what that product is. I've never used it, so I'm not sure, but if Lisa was using it, I bet it's, appropriate for harness.
It's probably more of a stain.
That's what I was
I think it's more of a stain, so that if you've got harness that, has some discoloration or whatever.
Yeah.
You know how old harness can, I think it's really more of a deep penetrating stain. Is it liquid?
She said it's a gallon, so
yes, it is. It's
yeah.
It's a half a gallon, and it's I kind of sloshed it back and forth, and it's a little thick, but it's kind of like a motor oil. So I'm assuming that's like maybe the stuff they used to dip when you had to get the harness.
Harness makers use that.
Yeah.
Black harness makers use that.
Yeah.
But for the first coating of black harness, I think a harness maker would use that. I don't think, well, Lisa, I'm sure knows what she's doing, but I don't think, I've never used it, and I've never heard of anyone using blacking.
So good, I'll get rid of it. Nobody wants it. That's cool.
Yeah. You mentioned, I wasn't going to mention this, but I think I will. You mentioned that there's sometimes a part of the harness that you just can't get black. It just is not accepting
Yes.
the polish.
Right.
I don't know whether you've heard of boning in.
Yes.
This is a bone
Right.
from some animal. I don't know what it was, but if you've got, we had Huskinson harness, and I was having trouble on the traces, I think it was, getting those traces to accept the blacking. It just wouldn't do it. It was a very nice harness, very good quality. The stitching was great. Everything was fine. It wouldn't take the blacking until I boned it in. And you do it regularly, usually when you apply the black polish, and then you just you bone it in. And this is nice and smooth, so it's not going to hurt your leather, but it forces it into the membrane, I guess, of the leather. Right. And so I hated that job because it took forever. But once done, that harness is taking blacking. It is taking the polish, no problem now. So
I use that I use that on the side of the raw leather. You put the edge dye on, which is more of a water base than the oil base. And I have a deer antler that I've actually drilled out some half circles on it, so it would go right around the edge of the leather and fit right over. So if you want to get a nice polish on the edges of your lines and harness, that'll do it, boning it.
Oh, and that reminds me too, I should have mentioned when you're saying wanting to get into places, I always have a toothbrush when I blacken the harness, because there are places you can't get with your cloth or with your finger, and a toothbrush seems to be able to get into some of those places. Yeah. So good to have a toothbrush in your kit too. Okay, so that is blacking. Anything more on blacking?
I have a question about your russet brush. If you're not putting polish on the russet, why are you using a russet brush, or why do you have a russet brush? What are you using it for?
Because I'm using the conditioner on it, and then shining it up even more. This conditioner gives a nice shine, but to shine it even more, I use a russet brush.
Okay.
Liz, what's the name of the conditioner you're putting on the russet?
It's called Belvoir Tack Conditioner.
Delmar.
Belvoir,
Yeah, it's the
Belvoir.
same product that I use as a saddle soap.
Yes,
That's actually a fairly new product, or at least it's a new package.
that's a new package. Yeah, they never had much of a spray.
Yeah, I know.
It's always.
Not sure I like it. I like
I love
like
that
the
stuff.
bar.
My only problem with Belvoir is they've made their conditioner and their tack cleaner
Look the same.
bottles look
Yeah.
exactly the same. And I can't tell you how many times I pick up the wrong one when I'm in the process and put the wrong thing on, and then, so.
That's so annoying.
If they
Yeah,
just did one
that's a
little,
shame.
I should put a piece of tape on it or
I was
something.
gonna say, just some duct tape and you'll can color code.
Yeah, but can you believe it? For years now, I've been doing the same thing. We've been using Belvoir probably 8 years now. And
Yeah.
it's, you can get it at Dover,
Yes.
Saddlery. I think you can get it at Amazon too. There are so many things you can get at Amazon now, and it makes Dover that fulfills it from Amazon. But yeah, I like Belvoir a lot. I was glad we found that. Okay, the next,
Could I ask Liz one question?
yeah,
Lydia, if you're doing a drive and it's, say, a 2 or 3 hour commitment, if you take your very best russet harness out and it's pouring rain for 2 or 3 hours, is that going to totally destroy that beautiful russet harness?
you've got to get that dry as soon as you can, but you can't dry it with a hair dryer. You don't want to use anything that would, you don't want to put it in front of a radiator or anything like that. You've got to let it dry itself and hope for the best. You don't want to do hair dryer or anything like that because it's going to hurt your stitching, I think. When the
leather.
Right, and the leather as well, right.
It's about the worst thing you could do for harness, isn't it? A russet harness?
I know it's the worst.
Have it out in rain for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
It is rough on it, but the one thing about rainwater and plain water, even dirty water, it's not going to rot the stitching as much as sweat. So if you take it home,
the
salt and the sweat and everything is worse than water.
Yeah.
So if you have something that's so gunked up with sweat because of a 2 hour ride, go ahead and take a sponge to it first, get that crap off, and then go ahead with your cleaning, because the water's not actually going to hurt it so much unless you soak it. Now, of course, with your russet harness that you've been out, go back and towel it off and hang it up in a place that has good ventilation. And then, hit it with your cleaner and conditioner.
And hope for the best.
You should be okay if you don't try to rush it. It's going to get a little hard, and then you just want to go ahead again with your cleaning aspect. Cleaning. And
I know with Mickey Bowen's set of russet harness, I remember being caught out in some pretty good rainstorms with that, and properly cleaned up, it looked exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if you've been cleaning your harness and you've been keeping up with it, it's got a protection.
Yeah.
It's already set up.
Right.
I mean, it didn't get
doing
water
that,
stained,
then
for
it has no
instance, or
protection.
turned noticeably darker.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't like that.
I have a question about this russet harness. So I bought a used russet harness, and I clean it like I clean everything in my tack room. So of course, any russet stuff over the years gets darker. But my question is that not what you guys are trying to do in the harness carriage world? Are you trying to maintain that new russet look? Is that what it is? Or or is it acceptable to have the darkening, patina of we use this every day, like the old saddles used to be and bridles used to be before they dyed them Havana brown?
Yeah, I think the darkened patina is the better look. It just starts to look real quality when it gets that color.
Mm-hmm.
That's why our Smucker Deluxe got over the many, many years. And it's still a very nice harness, still a very good harness after 40 years. And it's just got a really nice look to it. The brown leather is just, it's the kind of, you wish you could buy it off the shelf like that. It's
right.
It's
I
just
have
got
Smuckers too. Smuckers.
Yeah.
harness
I don't think it's
also.
ever gonna stay brand new looking, but it has that gentle age look to it.
Right.
Because I've
Yeah.
seen a
Also,
lot of show people with their russet harness and it looks brand new. Now, maybe it is brand new, but it's
Probably.
like they either, maybe because they never pull it out except for the show, but I was just wondering about that.
And sometimes it even looks orange, which is,
Yes.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
It just needs
yeah.
more work. It needs more
Orange.
work. But Tommy, on your question about getting the rain on your harness, I think
Yes.
the biggest thing, I mean, it's bad, the leather is wet, so you dry it off as quickly as you can with towels and everything and hang it up in
Right.
a spot to dry. But I think one of the main things is you've got to get that brass dry too.
Oh,
Because if there's anything more terrible to clean, it's water spots on brass. And they're just very difficult to rub out if they've been
I don't have brass. I gave up with brass.
Okay, good for you. Well,
Yeah,
we'll get to the
I have
dry
the,
eventually if
Oh,
you
my.
have more spots on your brass, but yeah, you got to clean that brass right away. But now we already talked a little bit about the Belvoir tack conditioner. And we talked about never using the express wax and that stuff. Rain conditioning. I use, at least before going to a show, on the reins, a product called FX Leather Balm.
I have that.
And it's a, no, it almost looks like Vaseline. It is the consistency of it. And it's, you get it on your fingers and you do both sides of your reins with it. Now, I don't think you want to do this every time because this is a really good leather balm and it could tend to get these reins a little too soft if you used it too often, but it dries up pretty nice, but, and do both sides. I do both sides at the same time. I learned from Grooming that you do everything with your fingers. I don't use cloths except to clean things off, but any application, I use my fingers. So I apply it and you can feel, the reason you do it is you feel what you're working with. I can feel what's dry underneath. I can feel what's nice and shiny on top. So I like this FX leather balm for that.
how do you spell that?
It's EFFAX. And it's called Leather Balm or Leder Balsam. I think it's a German product.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Has aniline in it. And,
Do
it's
you
not,
only use it on the reins?
I only use it on the reins.
Brains only. Good.
Brains-
Thank
another-
you. That's helpful.
Another thing you can get at Dover, that's where I've gotten it. And it lasts forever. I mean, one container lasts, because you're only really doing reins with it, lasts a long time. So that's a good little product. Bill likes me using that product on his reins. He's the one, how come I can't get this back on? Oh, well. So that's the little tip for the reins, the leather balm.
Why do you use that on the reins? What look are you trying to achieve?
I use the entire rein,
Yeah.
all the way.
No, I know that, but you're trying to get it shiny looking or you're trying
No,
to?
not necessarily. It does. I don't think it really gives a shine, to tell you the
Okay.
truth.
It doesn't.
It just makes the reins nice and pliable, and they just feel good with that on it. They're not stiff and hard, and they feel good. So, and my thinking is, if they feel good, and it's not too much, it's not like they feel too good, and they're not real soft, but they feel just a good quality with that on. So I like it, but again, I don't. When I'm at a show, for example, I've used that before when I'm getting the harness ready for a show. When I'm at a show over a few days, I don't use the leather balsam again. I'll use a conditioner on a rag and just run it through and clean it that way. I won't use that balsam again. I'm always hesitant to use the balsam too much because I think it is a really good softening agent. So I don't want to use it too much. But that's
Okay, thank you.
that. Let's see, where are we now? Oh, okay, on to patent leather. Most harnesses have patent leather. Your russet harness doesn't, I know. but most harness has patent leather. And I can tell you the Brandywine Valley Driving Club, years ago, when we were all brand new to this sport and we were having these detailed meetings about how you clean, how you harness, what you wear. I mean, we had detailed meetings because everybody was new. It was a brand new sport. At that time, they recommended using Endust for your patent leather, and I've used it ever since. The reason they recommend it is Endust is the one furniture polish that leaves no residue. But I know there are a lot of good coachmen, carriage drivers who use Pledge. And they tell me they use Pledge because they want to see residue. So they say, if I'm cleaning something, I want to see that it's clean. Well, this cleans and shines, but you see no streaks, no everything. So I don't understand the Pledge thing, but there are a lot of people who use Pledge. And so whatever you're comfortable with, I guess, but I love this Endust. We've always used Endust. Now, recently, a new product, Wizards, came out with Mist and Shine. And this is a very nice product too, and doesn't seem to leave a residue. So I don't use this often. I might ever so often try it. My real go-to is the Endust. And of course, I'm using a microfiber cloth with the Endust because that's best for patent leather. So that's the patent. Now, one thing that comes up on occasion is you get damage to your patent. One of the horses in a pair, puts his head over to his partner and, we have a little streak or something in the patent. When that happens, there's an easy fix, particularly if it's not if it's bad damage, you're going to have to go and have your patent repaired. But if it's a little bit of damage on a collar or, off the side of your, this doesn't have it, but off to the side of your blinker or something like that, all you need to do is look at it. If it's still black, the little scrape is black, you're okay. Take some fingernail polish, clear fingernail polish, and just put a little bit over that, and you won't be able to tell that there is any damage there at all. If the thing is deep and you're seeing some other color underneath, you can take a Sharpie, you can take the black leather kiwi polish and get a little black in there, and then do your fingernail polish. Clear, always clear.
Wow.
Fingernail polish. Don't try to use black fingernail polish. That doesn't work. Clear fingernail polish.
That sounds great.
It goes right over, and boy, it can save you tons of money because a lot of times it's just these little teeny nicks. I probably have some nicks on this harness, but you can hardly see it because this repairs it. And if it wears off after you're cleaning or whatever wears off, you just put it on again. It's a quick fix for patent leather problems that are not too severe. So
Thank you. That's wonderful.
So why was I told to use Windex?
Windex, different people use different. I can tell you stories. There are people that use Pledge on their leather. There are people who use all different products. They're trying to find shortcuts. I would say Windex supposedly doesn't streak, which Endust doesn't streak either. But Endust will give you shine. I don't think Windex shines.
I don't really know. But it was what I was basically told, that obviously you never put any of the other products because patent leather is sealed. And so what you're trying to do is just clean off the dirt of the seal because the dirt's on top of it. And so the Windex cuts it. But I mean, I'm willing to dust. I was just told Windex.
Yeah, I have never used a glass cleaner on any part of the harness, but it may be just because that Endust has been so good for so many years, and it was.
Yeah, no, I'm no expert.
Yeah. No, but like I say, a lot of people use, they found something that they like and they use. And to tell you the truth, it's usually a shortcut for something is what I hear it being. And I don't know what that shortcut is with Windex, but people who are using
maybe Kara knows.
I've worked with about 4 different foreign hands. I've never heard of Windex, Pledge, or Endust. I think it was Pledge, yes. And the whole big trick with the nail polish and If you had to, you could use like mascara or something like that and then clear coat over top of it, different things like that. It was crazy stuff, but
Yeah.
it would work if it was
Yeah,
teeny tiny little things.
Anything
But
that was black and
what you're
underneath.
saying is basically right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Magic
Anything that was
marker.
black on the underneath, not blue. Make sure it's not blue
Oh,
mascara.
no, it was always black. So it was
Yeah,
black.
yeah, put a little black on, or I still think a little
And that's for
Sharpie.
teeny tiny things. Sharpies were the best though.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
if all else, you have your black shoe polish. That
Yep,
would
and
work too. But then you're
Yep.
putting, you have to be very careful not to get it on your patent beyond the little scratch or whatever.
Nowadays, I wonder if black nail polish would work too, and then you put the clear coat over top of that. But there wasn't black nail polish back in the time that I was doing all this.
Right,
I don't know.
I've heard, never use black nail polish because it won't match your
Yeah.
patent. It'll
That makes
look
sense.
it'll look a little different.
Yeah.
So you want to be pretty obscure about
Mhm.
the what you're doing. But
That
it works
FX
like
is wonderful too, by the way.
What's that?
The FX is wonderful, by the way.
Yes.
It is a
Yeah.
seriously good leather conditioner to, get things softened up. And sometimes you can get things too softened. So yeah, I think using it sparingly is a very good idea.
Great.
So yeah.
Good message.
Do they make black Phoebings anymore? They used to make that as a saddle soap.
Yeah,
Oh.
we had some black Phoebings. I think we tried it and discounted it at first. For whatever reason, it wasn't doing what we wanted
Okay,
to
we
do.
used to use it and then we'd put over top of the patent leather pieces, we would do furniture polish.
Yeah.
And it works pretty decently. I mean, at least for what we were doing. But,
Yeah.
we weren't doing heavy, serious shows like I know you and Bill have have done in the past. We just wanted things cleaned up pretty well.
Right.
Depends on what you're doing and why you're doing it a lot of times.
Yeah, it does. And how much time you have. It's the other
Exactly.
thing. Brass. Now we're on to brass. In the early days of the driving club, they recommended Brasso, and then it went to Neverdol, which is a wadding. Everybody probably knows what I can't even open this, it's been so long. Neverdol is a wadding. And then it went to some other products, Wrights.
Simichrome.
I use none of those. I don't use Brasso. I may have used them years ago. I certainly used Neverdol years ago. I used Wrights metal polish a little bit years ago. Don't use any of these anymore. And the reason I don't is because in the automotive industry, they discovered they created some polishes that will leave no residue on the leather. So you can use them. You can use them and there'll be no residue on the leather. In the early days with the Neverdol and with the Brasso, you'd clean a buckle and then you'd have to, it's all over my leather near the button. And I get a little something wet to get it. That's all in the past. The first thing I used that didn't leave residue on the metal was the purple metal polish. And I used that years ago, but now I've thrown that out too. Because the thing my go-to all the time now is Wizards Metal Renew. It's a metal Wizards. It's the metal polish, and the way I do it, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but this is the way Roy Munt taught me. You put a little. I use the same tin. You put a little on a tin, and then we have a piece of harness there. I, of course, use my fingers, which is how I was taught, and you just put it on this turret like this. It's the turret ring carrier. Turret. And then you take a nice stiff cloth, and it just works perfectly. And you can get it all. I probably should have given you a sample down by the leather. It doesn't. It comes off the leather, and you have no indication that it was ever near the leather. There's no residue left. It's the one. It's great. I've used this for years now. The Wizard Metal Polish. I think I've most recently been getting it at Amazon. We used to have to get it from auto stores and send away for it because I think it was California or somewhere. But now you can get it from Amazon. They also do a wadding. That's, you know, pink wadding. That's like the Neverdull, but the advantage over Neverdull is this wadding doesn't leave that residue on your leather. So it cleans up so well, this Wizard's metal polish, that's the one, that's my go-to. But even more recently, some people are going with Cape Cod metal polish. So I've got a few of these here. I've tried it. This is also a wadding, and I don't like wadding because I like applying it with my fingers because I can feel and see and get into all the nooks and crannies. So as soon as I have a wadding that's in between, I don't really like it that much. But a lot of people are using this Cape Cod metal polish, and excuse me, and this you can get at hardware stores.
Yeah.
Hardware store up in the Dutch way. Is that? I forget what brand it is.
Ace Quality.
Ace Quality. They sell these. I don't know how it was, and I don't know how people found it. But Cape Cod polishing cloths for fine metal is also one that doesn't leave residue on the leather and is highly thought of. I think this Wizard's metal polish, you can get the brass almost white. It's so good. And the thing that I like about it is it stays that color. It doesn't tarnish as fast. It's slower tarnishing. So this again was from the automotive industry, and I don't know what they were doing, their bumpers or whatever they were doing. But this does not tarnish as fast, so that's why I like that. And again, you take off whatever polish you're using, you take off with a stiff terry cloth. That's what I've always used. The stiffer, the better to get that shine on that brass. Now, a lot of people swear by nylons. They have never worked for me. I don't know what, some people, that's all they use are nylons to take their metal polish off. I think it's the Brasso people that are doing that. I don't know. But a lot of people swear by nylons. They never worked for me. I've tried them. I just don't like them, so it doesn't work.
Pardon me, but the one thing a nylon will do will put a heck of a polish on your boots.
Oh, will it?
Oh, yeah, you can actually put it on top of your brush or some people have a sheepskin brush. You put a nylon on top of that with that parade gloss, and it's going to look like almost like patent leather. It's great.
See, the people I know that are using it
Wow.
aren't using it for their leather. They're using it for their brass.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's incredible what it will do to black boots.
Huh.
And I actually got the idea for the parade gloss from a young man I dated in high school that went to Valley Forge Military Academy.
yeah.
He lost a bet and had to polish my boots.
Oh, that's a good deal. I bet he knew how to polish. A couple other things on polishing your brass. I always have a dental pick, particularly for the ciphers. The ciphers are, we have boxers as our cipher.
Oh.
Some people have monograms. Having a dental pick like this helps you get into the crevices if you've got anything that you need to get out. It's a very good little tool to have, handy little tool to have. The other thing that I use on occasion is one of these button, I don't even know what.
Oh yeah, it's the brass. That's what the military used to do their buttons, because it would close over the buttons and you wouldn't get it on your suit coat.
Right. You can also use it, I don't know whether it'll work for this one. I don't know. You can use it on certain buckles. It'll fit in and you won't get anything on, on your leather or anywhere else. It pinpoints the brass polish. So there's that. And if you don't have a dental pick, you can always use toothpicks. A toothpick will do the same thing. So it's kind of neat. And I'll tell you another pet peeve of mine. When the grooms take the harness off of the horses, of course, they're taking one side of the crupper off, and they usually come in and pack it into the harness cases with that off, it's not attached, that one side off. My peccadillo is always reconnect the crupper. And the reason you want to do that is you want to keep that nice shape. Because if you don't do that, it starts to widen. And then you've got this big wide thing on your butt that you don't want. So I always try to tell them to both sides back properly.
Putting a large rubber band on it, similar to what people use to hold their helmets on, would also help to maintain that shape if it gets too big.
Yeah, I found it's okay if they just connect it. I mean, so a lot of times I end up going through and connecting it all. The other thing that I find particularly useful is a Dremel. And a Dremel is a tool for the brass, no other part of the harness, for the brass. And that's for particularly when the brass has become wet and there's a water spot. Or it could be a big water spot, it could be a little water spot, but you're rubbing it, it's not coming out. You can still see it, you can see it there. This Dremel, and you have to use the brass brush attachment to the Dremel, which is number 536. You have to send away for these. You can't, they don't seem to have them in any of the hardware stores or anything, but you send away for the brass brush. And this Dremel can get a water spot out of brass buckles or anything as easy as anything. And the Dremel holds the charge forever. I mean, it'll hold the charge. We hadn't used it since Debbie, and it still had a charge here a month later, a month more later. So I recommend a Dremel for those. I mean, if you want to just keep rubbing to get that water spot out, that's good. But this is one good shortcut to do that. Word of warning: never, ever, ever use it on your. I'm picking up a white note. Ever use it on your rosettes. Never use this on your rosettes. For whatever reason, I think the rosettes are a lighter brass, and this will put. It'll take that. It will take the water stain out of it, and it'll put something in there that you don't want to see. And you can work it out. It puts some. I don't know whether you want to call it grooves, or you can see that you use this once you've done it on a rosette. And you can rub it out with the, just with the brass polish over time. But it's best just not to use this on your rosettes to begin with. The other thing, never use this on, this is an aside, never use it on your carriage lamps. The carriage lamps must also have that lighter brass or something to it. And you get the same problem. You can see that a Dremel was used on it. So just don't ever use it on your lamps. And the one other thing, if you don't have a Dremel and you've got water spots and they're not coming out for you, the more you rub, it's not coming out. I also always carry a grade 00 steel wool. And if you very lightly go over that water spot with steel wool, it will tend to come out with the steel wool. So if you don't have the Dremel, the steel wool is the next best bet.
Wow.
I think that's it. Bill's turn. No, any more questions or thoughts?
Excellent.
This is really good.
I've been the harness polisher for years, and it's the kind of thing.
What a job you got, Liz.
For me, it's a good job. It's just a good job for me. I don't know why I've taken to it, but it's a good job for me. And it's, the other jobs are polishing the carriage or
It's a challenge.
bathing the horses or this. You can just very quietly do your thing, and it turns out looking nice, and it adds a lot to it. And I'm also the one looking for, we need a new hip strap. I'm looking for issues before they happen. Whereas sometimes I think some grooms may not appreciate it as they're cleaning it, because it's just a job to them, but it's a very important job in the overall scheme of carriage.
It's therapeutic.
And it is therapeutic. It is therapeutic. I agree. So I like it a lot. So are we taking, oh my.
That's good. That's good.
Are we taking a little break?
We'll take a 5-minute intermission, you guys. You can get a glass of water or wine or potty break or whatever.
Thank you. Could I ask you why we're taking a break? Or that's because we have to switch down, isn't it? I guess. I wanted to know more about polishing your carriage. It's always perfect and shiny. And what do you guys do to it?
Well, that's Bill's job. We've gone through products with that too, because you're always looking for the next best thing. You're using the Mist and Shine, aren't you, Bill?
Yeah, we use Mist and Shine, or we use, what's the one?
Auto Glim.
Auto Glim.
What we were first using Auto Glim, which was a product about 10 years ago, a specialized product. You only get it at auto stores, and what's worse, it was only made in the UK and available in the UK. So we had Auto Glim come over, and that did a really, I mean, you can actually see through the shine. But now we're using Wizards for a lot of things. They're just making a lot of good products and that have worked. And so, yeah. Anything else on carriage?
And your carriage is wood? Is your carriage wood?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Bill said in the next segment, he's going to discuss a little bit about carriage cleaning too.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay.
All this is like so foreign to me because I've never had, I've never had a because I'm new to the carriage world. So
yeah. Well, it's a lot of fun. It's all the little details are what makes it fun. I mean, all these little things that you develop and learn over time. And then it's just to get it all together and to make a nice presentation in front of a judge or even at a pleasure drive. There's a lot to it. It's a lot of fun to do it.
Did I miss where you're getting the brass polish and the bottle that's in your hand right now?
The Wizards I'm getting from Amazon now.
Okay.
I used to have to get them from an auto store. Yeah, this says Minnesota, where I used to get them from Minnesota at an auto product store. But now you can get them on Amazon, and they probably come. They're probably shipped by that Minnesota auto manufacturer or auto.
And the full name of what you're holding in your hand there, Wizard product?
Wizards Mist and Shine.
Mist and Shine.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, the other thing I wanted to caution, what did I do with the Wizards? Here it is. The Wizards Metal Renew.
Okay.
The Wizards has another product that's also for metal that I've gotten one of them, and I'm afraid to use it because it puts, not only does it clean and polish and says that it does all the great things, it puts something on the brass that they say will make the shine lasts longer. I'm always afraid of putting something more on in case it discolors or in case it clouds over time or whatever. So I've gotten that. I haven't used it yet, but if you order the Metal Renew polish from Amazon, make sure you're not getting that one that adds another element to it, that adds a product that coats your brass. I'm just afraid of that right now. Maybe I'll try it eventually and find out it's great. And maybe you might want to try it and find out it's great. But for me right now, anything that adds something that I'm not sure will come off, or I'm not sure what it will look like over time, I'm just hesitant to get it. So this I'm sure of. This is the product that I think everybody's using. But I know they did just come out with something that's a little bit, adds another element, which is some kind of coating on your brass. And I was afraid of that one.
You know what? Try going to a thrift store or something like that, picking up a brass thing that's cheap, some little brass figurine, and experiment with it. You can do that on, I used to use harness blacking on a lamb's wool coat that I have, or a lamb's leather coat that I have. And that worked out really well because it was going gray. The black of the dye was actually going away. So, sometimes it's just a matter of, experiment on something that's not necessarily a horse piece.
Yeah, and it is coming from an automotive products manufacturer. So if they're putting it on good cars, antique cars, I'm just a little afraid of my brass, my harness brass. So that's why I did that. But so just be on the alert for that. Okay, are we 5 minutes then?
Yep.
All right.
5 minutes now.
Yeah, so we'll come back. We'll come back just before 8:20.
Thank you, Debbie. I guess I should tell everybody that when we first set this up, we were going to have one of the Gelderlanders as a model, and we were going to do this in the barn. So it would have been very easy to have the Gelderlander posing as a model for us, and I could have done all the grooming things with them. But as it turned out, we had a very weak Wi-Fi signal in the barn, so we had to move everything into this area. And obviously, I wasn't going to bring the horse in here, so we're just going to have to talk about it a little bit. So first, I have to tell you that our Gelderlanders, and obviously, you know, we're just driving people. I did fox hunt for many, many years, but primarily driving. And we have the black Gelderlanders. And because of that, in the summertime, they come in during the day in the summer to keep them out of the heat, and also from taking the black out of their coats. So they come in during the day, they're out at night. And I think that's part of what we're talking about here in stabling or grooming the stabled horse. In the winter, we change that around, and they go out during the day and they're in at night, and that's every day. And I like that because I like bringing them in and out. It regiments them a little bit, and also I can check each one of them when they come in. So I see them every day, at least twice a day, and I can see if there's a problem, if they've got blemishes, if somebody's bit somebody in the rear end, you know. So and if somebody's lost a shoe, I can see all that when they come in and out. So it is a what?
You say your name, you talk to them.
Oh, oh yeah, and also when I'm feeding, when I put the feed in their bucket in their stall, I say, here you go, Ben. Here's Ben. Here's here's Bandit. Here's Bullet. Here's Elvis. And so every day, twice a day, they hear their name. So that kind of helps when you're driving, because I really do feel that when I say Ben, move up, he knows his name and he reacts to that. So I think it's important that seeing them every day, and that's why I do this. I enjoy having that interaction with my horses and that relationship. That's very, very important to me. Anyhow, that having been said, when we drive, and we drove this morning, and Patrick, who's doing the videoing, has been helping me with getting the horses ready to drive and going out with me and so forth. So what we do, so I'll bring the horses in because they've been out all night, bring them in, and we'll select who is going to go out to drive that particular day. This morning it was Ben and Bandit. So we bring them out into the center aisle and we brush them and groom them, because I always feel it's important to have the horses look as good as they can when going out, even just around the neighborhood. I want them to look good. I want them to, and then them looking good makes me feel good when I'm driving them, because I enjoy seeing them groomed and going very, very, very well. So we'll take them out and put them in the center aisle, and we will groom them. And I have my grooming items here. The first thing I would do would take a dandy brush, which has the thicker bristles, and go all over the horse with the dandy brush, and in a circular motion all over their bodies. And from time to time, they get the dust off the dandy brush, tapping it on a rubber curry to get the dust out, and rubbing all over the horse, as you all do, I'm sure, as well. I don't use a dandy brush on the face. I use a nice little softer brush on their face, especially Ben. He doesn't like anything like too hard on his face, so we use a nice little face brush for him. After using the dandy brush, we go to the nice softer brush and go all over the body with the nice softer brush. And this not necessarily using a circular motion, but doing a brush with a flick and going all over the body like that, brush with the flick. And I could use this for their legs, because you don't want to use the hard bristle brush on their legs, because it's kind of tender and thin skin and so forth. And so I found a product that I really like for getting the dirt off their legs, and it's called the tiger's tongue. And the tiger's tongue comes to you like this. You can get this at Bartville Saddlery. And when you take it out and put some water on it, it expands to this. And it's very, very nice for getting the dirt off, actually the whole body, but in particular on their legs, where you want to be a little bit softer. So it's a great product and works very, very well. Also, for getting dirt off the legs, down by their hooves, you can use your soft rubber curry. That kind of works very nicely. And then when addressing the mane and the tail, I first, on the mane, for example, would use the dandy brush and get the mane brushed out with the dandy brush. And then I would go to a nice mane comb like this that you can get at Dover and so forth. I'm sure you all have them. And I would use that on the mane as well. Sometimes I'll spray some show sheen, which I've always used on the mane, just to make it a little bit slicker, so I can get the brush through, especially if there's any knots or anything. The show sheen will help to get them out, and you can go right through the mane. For the tail, you don't want to be using this brush for the tail. You don't want to pull any of those sensitive little hairs out. So what you would do is you get the tail by the bottom, and you with your fingers separate the hairs. If you have any tangles or so forth, just separate them all out. Then you can hold the tail about halfway down with your hand. Then you can use your mane and tail brush to get that done. And also, I would again use maybe some show sheen and spray that on the tail, and it makes a nice smoother, slicker way for me to brush it out. And then forgot to mention, first thing that we would do on occasion, and actually, if truth be told, I don't do this as often as I should, but picking out their feet with your hoof pick. Very, very important. And you always want to go from the frog to the toe, when you're using your hoof pick, not touching your frog too much, but getting into that groove underneath there, but yet going away from the frog when you're doing your hoof picking. Also, sometimes when we go out, and I'm not talking about showing now, because showing is a whole different program in terms of washing and cleaning and brushing and so forth, and we do different things. What I'm talking about now is our regular procedure when we go out for a drive to work the horses. And sometimes if I want to, if I'm going through a neighboring farm and I want to look really spiffy, I also would use hoof oil on their hooves, because it puts a little bit of a shine on it. But it's also good to use the hoof dressing or the hoof oil to protect the hoof and give it some moisture and so forth. So sometimes they become very dry and brittle. So putting hoof oil also helps that very much, but also it does dress the horse up a little bit, and it makes it look like you spent hours grooming your horse when all you did was put the hoof oil on there. Then when we come back from a drive, and we come back in, and like this morning, it was rather humid. We were out maybe all told for maybe an hour, because it was humid. It was pretty hot. We went over to my neighbor's polo field and practiced on that for a little while. And we came back. We always have to hose the horses down So we hose them down all over. And then after hosing them down, I like to use Vitrolin as a bracer. You didn't see that? Okay. I like Vitrolin. I used to use Absorbine, but I think I like the way Vitrolin smells. So it's a very good product. And I use that basically on their shoulder. I'll put a few dollops of that in we have a dedicated bucket, not this one that we use for putting the bracer on with a sponge. And I use it basically on their shoulders, on their back, and on, in those areas to make them feel a little bit better. So when we in washing them, going back a little bit, I like to use, when we're doing a general wash, I like to use Orvis. I've always used Orvis. It's a good product. It gets the grease out and so forth. So that's awesome. That's very, very good. But when I'm going to do a special washing with really shiny coat, I use this great mane and tail product, the Ultimate Gloss Shampoo. Love this. It puts a shine on the horses' coats, especially my black Gelderlanders coats, that you would not believe. And recently, I have to tell you this, Liz and I went to a dog show, and we took our youngest little dog, Derby, a little boxer, to a trainer to see if it was worth it for us to show Derby in shows and so forth. We're not going to do that. But anyhow, we took him to the trainer and to see what she would think. And before we went with them, I washed them with Ultimate Gloss Shampoo from Mane and Tail. And the trainer was like, wow, what do you feed this dog? His coat is beautiful. Well, it was beautiful, not because of what we fed him, but because of Ultimate Gloss Shampoo. So thank you, Karen Snell, for that. She's wonderful. She has given us this for a while. Also, after washing them with the Ultimate Gloss Shampoo, they also have the Ultimate Gloss Conditioner, which we do for a special shine on them. So also when you're washing the horse, and my guys, since they have white stockings and so forth, we often have problems on the rear legs with scratches. And some, they get scratches and so forth. And I found this product, Blue Stuff, is very good for helping to get rid of scratches in the hind legs and so forth on white-legged horses. So we use this a lot. It's a topical antimicrobial, antifungal lotion for use on scratches, rain rot, leg fungus, and other skin irritations. So there you go. We like to use this. And then when we're actually going to do, when we're actually showing, there's certain things that we do to like spruce the horses up even more than we would do on a regular day. One of the things is I use baby oil on their muzzles and around their eyes. Just a little bit of baby oil, it shines up the muzzles and shines the area around their eyes and makes them look very, very spiffy. Here's the thing too. We used to always clip their muzzle hairs and around their eyes and any long hairs and so forth, in particular around their muscles. I've come around to the idea that the horses need those things, and they're very sensitive, and it helps them to know where they are and so forth. So now I've kind of in the past year, I've decided that we're only going to clip them enough to make them look neat. We're not going to clip all their muzzle hairs off. Maybe we'll leave about 3/4 of an inch now, because I think that's important for them to have to have those hairs. And years ago, Liz was talking about, Brandywine Valley Driving Club years ago. Mary Lane Wark said to me at a show one time, she said, Bill, you should not be clipping those muzzle hairs. So Mary, here's to you. But anyhow.
Actually, the FEI now prohibits that.
Oh, yeah.
The international, yeah, that was, I think, last year they came out with that rule. You cannot clip any of the hair, even the inside the ears, you're not supposed to clip anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
And therefore, any of the U.S. equestrian disciplines that are part of FEI. So even in this country, they are not allowed to do it, like the four-in hands when they're
in FEI.
in a sanctioned FEI event.
Yeah, I don't think it's not USEF or ADS yet, but that's probably coming.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing. Alum. I also, for the driving horses and for the collars, initially in the springtime, when we first start using the collars on them, collar sewers or collar ripples, we don't really let them get to a sewer. But if the collars are giving them little ripples on their necks, I use, and I didn't bring it over, but I use alum. I mix alum in water, and alum is that product that you use for canning and preserving and so forth. Mix a little bit in water and add a little white vinegar, and I spray that onto their shoulders, and it kind of toughens up the skin a little bit around their neck, so that they're not prone to the collar sores or the little ripples that they get. The little ripples would turn into collar sores if you didn't treat them. Another thing, if they have gotten the ripples on their neck, like right in here, you can use witch hazel, and witch hazel will take them right out. So alum kind of hardens it up, and witch hazel, if they get some ripples, we'll take those ripples away.
Bill, you're saying ALUM, not aloe?
Not aloe, no, aloe,
Okay.
ALUM.
Okay,
And it's a product that they use in canning.
okay,
Amazon has
And Amazon has it.
okay.
it.
We just got some. They come in a little jar like this, and it's alum, and it's used for preserving food, I guess.
Okay.
But I put that, I mix that with a little bit of water and some white vinegar,
Okay.
and
I see.
that does the job.
I had to go away for a minute. Did you talk about getting your socks white and what you use? Not your socks, the horse's socks.
my socks are pretty white, but no, yeah, there's many through the years. We've used many different methods of getting the socks white, and I always am. I'm keen on having the whitest socks that we possibly can get, and we did start out using like Squires, the blue stuff. We've used that, and that's okay. We have also used gym chalk. You get bars of gym chalk for the gymnastic people use it, and you wet that, and it kind of you mix it into like a molten lava kind of stuff, and you spread that on the white leg and let that dry, and then brush it all out. And we use that for years and years. And we also, more recently, we use a product that you can only get in England, that's for showing sheep. Is it Sheep Shack? I forget what it is, but
It's for sheep.
It's for sheep. It's for whitening sheep when you take them to shows. And we use that extensively now. It's the best thing that we have found. It whitens the legs up like nobody's business. So did that answer, was that Tracy? No?
That's good.
That's a good thing. I couldn't unmute myself.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, good. Also, for when we're going out on a regular day, and particularly these days when it's hot and you gotta put fly spray on, I use almost exclusively now EcoVet for my fly spray. And you got to get past the smell of it, and you can't breathe it in because you'll fall over. But it's the best product for keeping the flies away, and you don't have to use as much as regular fly sect or whatever. This you put on like 5 places on the body of the horse, and it keeps the flies off. And it was recommended to me by Patrick's mother, my veterinarian, Dr. Patty Blakesley. So it's very, very good. And then I don't put that on their faces. I put either SWAT on their faces, SWAT is and I use the clear, I don't use the pink, but it's the goopy stuff. And I smear that on their eyes and on their noses and on the sides and up on their ears. That's very good. And then also, I also use Repel X lotion for that. So either one of those works very well. But I like Repel X lotion because it's all kind of slippery and stuff in it. It doesn't, you don't see it as much as the SWAT when you put it on. So anyhow, and then one more thing, I think I went pretty much through everything. I do recommend, if you don't have it, our neighbors here, Philip Dutton and those guys. Well, Emma Ford wrote this book called World Class Grooming. Emma Ford is Philip's groom, head groom, and she wrote this book along with Kat Hill, another groom for Philip, and it's very, very good. They didn't pay me to tell you this, but it's a wonderful book if you can get a hold of it. So, any questions?
I'm sorry. And it's also available on Amazon.
And yes, in fact, I got this one on Amazon, and yes.
This is just an ad for Amazon.
Yes.
What was the name of the sheep whitening stuff again?
I forget what it is. It's sheepshank.
Sheepshank. Okay.
I'll have to get.
It's like a generic thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you. You make it into a paste.
Okay.
I get a big thing of it, and we actually had it smuggled in from the UK a couple of years ago, because you can't. They won't ship it.
May I say?
Somebody over here must have the product now, but we actually smuggled it in. It makes a paste, and you put it on, and it's the best there is. But I'll have to get back to you and let you know what the actual name of it.
Apparently Weaver Livestock has a sheep and goat whitening powder.
Yeah, that could be it.
Okay.
That might be it.
Similar. Yeah.
All this is easier, by the way, too. I don't know whether or not everybody's doing it anymore, but if you're shaving the white legs down as far as you can, it makes things a lot easier to get everything white and keep it white. Just for anybody who might need that, or maybe if you have a Welsh cob and you want to keep the legs, as the natural way would be. That's one thing, but and you'd need a different bunch of things for that. But I can remember doing 20 legs, where you'd be, and they were all white except one, and they were all shaved, so they all had their their stockings on. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, prepping for a show, we would we always clip the legs first.
Yeah.
And then use the whitening.
Right.
Yeah.
That whitening stuff I mentioned is actually a spray.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right then.
What is the name of that sponge that's in front of you? It's
Tiger something.
Tiger's tongue.
And that's available on Amazon, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that, but I get this from Bartville Harness.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and I also would like to know, there's a bottle, it's a white bottle and it's blue and it's behind the hoof oil.
Oh, for the
Blue
Oh.
stuff.
dry rot. I mean,
Oh,
Yeah.
it's the blue stuff.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
and what's it called?
Dover has this, and you can probably get this on Amazon as well.
But what's the name of it?
Blue stuff.
Blue stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That blue stuff.
That's what, and at the top says, hey, where's that blue stuff?
Right.
And it's blue stuff. Yeah. And it's actually, there's blue stuff, you know, antifungal lotion, but then there's blue stuff. There's another skin healthy kind of blue stuff thing that you can get as well. So there's a couple different types of it that you can get, but it actually works very well. I used to, for scratches, I used to use Novasane. And I would get that from Bartville Harness, but Novasane is kind of, it can be hurtful, I think. It does the job, but it's very, you know, it could be caustic, and you got to get it. You have to get it off of them right away, but it works. You can still get Novasane.
Thank you.
Oh, I did have somebody in the last thing we were talking about carriage stuff. So real quickly, also for a quick touch up when we're at the show, like when Lydia was talking about Weathersfield with the Carriage Association, and for a quick touch up on the carriage, we use Wizards Mist and Shine. It's available at Amazon, evidently, and that's for like a quick touch up on the carriage, and it works very, very well. However, what I really like, and you see this roof seat in back of me, you can see that shine on that thing. That comes from using Auto Glim shampoo and conditioner. I don't know if this comes from Amazon. It actually comes from the UK.
I think you can get it in auto stores now. I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe you can get it in auto stores now, but this is the bestest. And it's like a cream. It's pretty thick. Yep. Anyhow, it's like that. And good. And it goes on, you let it dry for a few seconds, and then you buff it off with a microcloth, and it gives the best shine that you could possibly have. Now there's two types. There's an Auto Glim for modern paints and dark colors, and there's an Auto Glim for like older paints. So, you know, there's two different kinds. I use the older paint one, but you put it on with a soft rag, you let it dry, and you buff it up, and you get this. So, and then also for tires, like on the Coonleys and so forth, I use Tire Wet to blacken the tires, and that does a good job when you've gone into the show ring for turnout or something. And kind of not quite as good as Wizards, but you can always get McGuire's Ultimate Detailer for like a quick fix up before you go into the ring. Okay, done with that. All right, I have nothing more to say.
Hey, Bill, question for you. What is your opinion on, I've worked with some people when it comes to hooves and hoof dressing and things like that, who liked,
On what?
I've worked with some people who have liked hooves buffed with like a sander. What's your opinion on that? I always kind of wondered whether or not it kind of makes hooves more chippy later on, but I don't know.
Okay, we have done that with the team for like Devin. That comes from the saddlebred world. And what you do is you clean the hoof, and then we have a special sander that I actually got from a farrier supply company, and has a round sandpaper thing you put on it, and you lightly sand the hoof to make it smooth. Okay, but then you're not done yet. Then you take black shoe polish and you shoe polish it. I mean, if your horse has black hooves or whatever, and you shoe polish that, then you put your your black hoof polish on, Phoebings or whatever.
Oh, about the stripes too.
And sometimes if you want to be vampy, you can, if you have a horse with white hoof, you can make his hoof black and then just leave like a 1/4 inch strip in the front of it that's white, kind of like vampy. But that's from the saddlebred. We did that when we were showing the team at Devon, and it's quite flashy. I'm not so sure that it's good for the hooves.
I wonder if it makes it chip more later on, because I think I was seeing that. And when you think about it, if you manicure your own nails and you buff across the top of them, mine chip like crazy if I do that. So, it's all the same.
I haven't done mine recently, but
you sure?
but yeah, I'm not so sure it's good for the hooves.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We haven't done it in the last couple of years. I mean, it's when you're doing 4 horses, it's a major process to do it. But
I just wondered what person's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's pretty. It's a pretty amazing shine.
Yeah, true. I mean, I just wondered that from somebody who owns a team and probably was at least familiar with that procedure. I didn't know whether you all did it or not, but yeah, I wondered whether or not it was actually in the long run making hooves a little less solid.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it's good for the hooves.
Yeah.
But it's quite spectacular.
Oh, I know, it's beautiful, but I think in the end, it's not worth it for the horse that's having it.
The saddlebred people do that, and I think that's where I learned it, from the saddlebred.
The Morgan people that do the same thing. All Morgan shows do high shine on.
Yeah, the Morgans as well.
On the saddle seat.
Jakey tails.
I'm sure the Arab people do it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen it with some breeds that, I didn't necessarily think would be participating in something like that, but it's good to know your opinion on it.
Yeah, I would, if I was in a real big turnout show, I might do it again, because it's very flashy. But it takes hours and hours and hours.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
This is great. You both were great.
Yeah, you all have done a fabulous job.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Really appreciate.
That we enjoy this. We've done it, as Liz said, for many, many years. It's our life, so,
well,
and I enjoy passing it on to everybody else.
I have a question. What was the product you used on the rubber tires?
Oh, you can get that at an auto store. It's called Tire Wet.
Tire Wet. Okay.
Thank
you.
It's a spray, and you spray it on a rag, and then rag the tire with it. You don't want to spray it because you'll get spray all over everywhere. So you spray it on a rag and just do it on the rubber part.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So Bill, who blows the horn while you're driving?
Well, actually, this came up the other day. We see so many coach horns on park drags. Coach horns should, and we have a park drag.
Yeah.
So coach horns should only be on road coaches.
Ah,
Some in America here, we decided that we wanted to be flashy and people started sounding the coach horns on park drags. And park drags are supposed to be sedate and not clamorous.
yes.
So, you know, it's not correct. But I have my own little, it's called a first plus horn. It's rounded and I can
Oh.
sound that while I'm driving.
Oh,
horses.
cool. That's neat.
Great fun.
Okay.
Good question. All righty.
I think that's a wrap. Thank you again.
Thank
It
you
was
very much.
Really enjoyable and so educational, even for
Thank
those
you
of us
all.
that have been doing it for years.
Oh, thank you. It was very educational.
Oh, actually, I had one more question about lines. I know that there's a big difference between American leather and English leather. And because the English leather will stretch, excuse me, the American leather will stretch more. But if you have black harness and your lines are chestnut all the way to the bit? Or is it, yeah, okay.
Yes. Yeah, your rein, well, lines for a forward hand, reins for a pair single, but
Oh, good,
reins should always be russet,
okay,
always.
all right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Um,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Y'all have a good
guys.
night.
You
Have a
too.
good
Good night
I want to
now.
come
Good
driving
night.
with you.
Okay.